One floor, yep. Okay, we're back. And we are going to talk about determinate versus indeterminate sentencing. Okay, so this is more when a person already gets convicted in court. They talk about the sentence they're going to receive, and they talk about the prison sentence. On determinate sentencing is that's a fixed amount of jail time to an individual convicted of a crime. So he's already went through the whole thing, he's been convicted of the crime. Indeterminate is a prison sentence that assigns a range of jail time to an individual convicted. So it can be a range of different things. So the time, like a fixed time, is like, okay, you are going to get either 2 years or up to 25 years, right? Indeterminate means it involves a range of time, such as 2 to 5 years or 25 years to life. So they have to do the 25 years till life, or they can do 30 years, or they can be there until the end of their life. Under determinate sentence, they have to do the actual amount of time, right? The actual amount of the 2 years. However, they can still get out for good behavior, all right? Parole, under determinate sentence means determining the sentence is not subject to review by a parole board because they have to do that amount of time, right? So indeterminate is a sentencing and the subject is to be reviewed by the parole board. So you're more than likely going to get out if you have an indeterminate sentence that has a range of time and you can be released on parole. Determinate sentence is usually federal crime where they have to do all the time. Is that usually that's where the determinate sentence happens. On correction, more associated with the concept of retribution corrective, and indeterminate is associated with rehabilitative model of correction. So you're going to go to prison, they're going to rehabilitate you, and under the determinate sentencing, it's a concept of retribution. You get the justice is going to happen for the victim. So we'll show you, right? Obviously, it's less common, right? Associated than indeterminate sentencing, and indeterminate sentencing is more common. All right. For this guy here, this sicko, right? Sicko. Again, what happened to this guy? What happened to him, right? So you can feel free to read that, right, of what he did there. I think he's 19 years old. Looks like you see him somewhat clean-cut kid, right, walking around, and look at this horrible crime that he did, right? And somebody on Facebook sees this happening, and instead of calling the police right away, right, they share it on their Facebook. Does anybody know who the victim is, right? Who the baby is in this aspect, and who the suspect is, right? 911, call, have the courage to do it. I don't want to get involved, right? Oh, don't want to get involved. I don't want to be snitched, right? It's a civic duty. I think that's where remember how we said, oh, there's so much crime and nobody wants to get involved. Nobody, not me, right? If I can just turn my head, I don't want to get involved. All right, so we already talked about the indeterminate sentence, but as part of this assignment here, right, I want you to look this up, click on it, make it bigger, do whatever you want, do a little bit of research. Tell me what type of sentence this kid should get, okay? Now, remember, everybody, if we're in California, is going to a no bail system, so as soon as we arrest him, he's going to be allowed to go free for a while. That's what we're looking at, right? And go free until his court, because he's innocent until proven guilty, even though there's video of him actually committing the crime, right? But I want you to go back to this and tell me which you're going to use, determinate sentence or indeterminate sentence, and tell me what kind of sentence this guy should get, right? You're in charge. He's already been found guilty. You watch the video, right? You see him doing all these horrible things to this child. Tell me what you're going to get. Netflix movie. I watched it. Not really a fan of watching stuff on Netflix of any crime because I'm so busy doing it my entire life. Didn't care, right? Why do I care? But found it very interesting in this guy. Tell me what kind of sentence he should get. Of course, he starts having an affair on his wife. He works in an oil company. Takes her, kills her. Takes a kid, puts him, kills him, suffocates him, chokes him out, right? And shoves him down into the big, huge oil tankers, all right? So I forgot it's called, A Perfect Family or something on Netflix. But yeah, what kind of crime, what kind of time should he get? All right. So here's the opposition to mandatory sentence. So somebody does a horrible crime such as this, right? This Yehu, right? Pervert, animal, right? They look at the mandatory sentence. Like, let's give him the mandatory sentences, right? So when you get the mandatory sentences, opposition is to prevent the judge from considering the unique characteristics of the offense or the offender and handing down the sentence. The power of the sentencing is shifted to the prosecutor, so the prosecutor of this crime is the one that's going to determine it. Tied to dramatic increase in prison population, right? And these are the reason why you don't do it. And many states have begun to repeal the mandatory sentences. Okay, so again, oh my gosh, kumbaya, something happened to Johnny when he was 2. So because when he was 2, somebody didn't give him his pacifier, so now he's doing these horrible crimes, right? So what do we do with this guy? What happens to him? That's what I want to know. I want to know what you're going to do with this guy, right? Because if your house gets broken into, remember, it's a property crime, right? And now you come home, you've been working all day, taking MJC classes, oh my gosh, watching Miss Gonzalez's video, and talk, right? And so now I'm trying to make myself better, to do something better in the world. You come home and find your house destroyed, broken into. You want something done, right? Somebody's got to pay. So now you got all these people doing burglaries. Somebody's got to pay because you're a victim. Then what do we do with this Yehu, right? Who gets a mandatory sentence. So what do we do with a guy that broke into your house, right? So there's a lot going on. So what do we consider? Property crime, usually covered by insurance. Somebody got hurt, right? Now you got this other Yehu doing horrible things to children. And so you introduce that. However, there's capital punishment, right? However, under our government, Gavin Newsom says, no capital punishment. Nobody's dying on my watch. We're going to put a stop to that. Okay, that's great, right? No capital punishment. Again, for example, I go back to this guy, right? What he did, feel free to look it up on the internet. And you go back to him. What do we do with him? What if the baby died? Do we want to seek capital punishment for him? We'll go back to I&I, right? Sounds pretty heinous what he did. I'd have no problem sleeping at night if that's what happened to him. None at all, right? So what do? It's for the worst offenders, but however, how long do they sit on death row to die at the hands of the verdict that was handed down? 25, 30, 40 years. A lot of them just die in prison waiting to be killed for the death penalty, right? So 31 states allow the use of the death penalty. And here are the states that allow it. This is kind of an interesting fact right here. Okay. Oklahoma is this color. That means Oklahoma allows lethal injection, right? If you do a capital offense, you're going to give you lethal injection. You can get electrocution, lethal gas, or a firing squad. They still have the firing squad in Oklahoma, right? Ready, aim, right? So, why does Oklahoma still have a bunch of crime? Why is there still crime in Oklahoma? I want you to answer me that question. When there's a possibility, there's a lot of murders in Oklahoma, right? A lot of bad things going on. So why, if all those are a possibility that may happen to you from you committing a crime, why is there still felonious crime in Oklahoma? I want you to tell me your insight. There's no right or wrong answer. I want you to get inside your brain like, how can we stop crime? How are we going to get it to stop when you got a state like Oklahoma that still has crime? Okay? All right, capital punishment. We still talked about it. The first execution was Captain George Kendall in 1608. They saw him doing acts of treason against the government. There's been 16,000 executions over the last 4 centuries. Kind of interesting. Fun fact, if you want to go maybe have it a trivial pursuit, over the last 4 centuries, we've executed 16,000 people in the United States for their heinous crimes, right? Look over how many murders have occurred over the last 4 centuries. Centuries! 400 years, okay? 400 years. See if you can add up 400 years to see how many murders there were over the last one. Furman decision, this is talks about the administration of the death penalty constituted to be cruel and unusual punishment. There we go again with woes a poor criminal, right? States a violation of the 8th Amendment, and a decision that overturned 629 deaths in the 32 states. For your assignment on this, please give me 3 sentences so I know you understand the Furman decision and what it entailed. Minimum of 3 sentences. For those who like to go into detail, I love it. I'll read it and go from there. All right, so the legal challenges came from the Gregg versus Georgia, Jurek versus Texas, Profit versus Florida. Again, a part of this assignment for this PowerPoint, give me a couple sentences regarding what legal challenges those were regarding capital punishment. Doesn't have to be long, a couple sentences. Here's all the different methods under the different ways of capital punishment. Love them all. Love them all. Right? Have no problem with any of them because I know how hard it is to get a conviction for capital murder. Absolutely hard. A lot of issues you have to overcome. Oh, stopping here. Gonna load this one up. Stand by.